ETF Stream's end of year awards are fast approaching, so we thought now would be a great time to speak to last year's winner of the Outstanding Contribution to ETFs Award, Keshava Shastry, Global Head of Capital Markets at DWS, about his views on the current state of the European ETF market, as well as a quick preview into this year's awards. So Keshava, first of all, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Tom, for inviting me.
Good stuff. So just sort of kicking things off here, could you talk a little bit about how you kind of see the European ETF landscape at the moment, and what are the kind of the key trends taking place across the space?
It's a great time currently, Tom. We've hit, I think, 1.5 trillion euro in the European ETP AUM, which is a record kind of AUM, which is a great place to be. And also the flows have been really mixture of equities and fixed income. Especially fixed income has really been gathering momentum in the last year, and now especially with the rate hike cycle by the central banks. So it's a fantastic kind of growth that we've seen in terms of new products, new ideas, new entrants coming into the market. So I think there's a lot of excitement in the industry, and new themes coming around in products ideas, or whether if it's equities, fixed income, new ideas, ESG, but also on some of the digital space, the tokenization and the ETP, crypto ETP space as well. So I think and we're at a very kind of a inflection juncture for the industry, and also with some of the regulatory, which I'm sure we'll talk about, tailwinds that will come with some of the kind of consolidated tape, which I know you and I have been talking for a while, and it was last year's event that you hosted. You, me, and Tillman talked about it. So I think a lot of good things are happening, and also on the retail market opening, which I know on the EU side, Commissioner McGuinness has been speaking about. So I think we're really at that inflection point in Europe, EU, and UK space. I think we're definitely, there's new momentum gathering for the industry and the product range.
Yeah, good stuff. That's a really nice overview. Obviously, you mentioned the consolidated tape. That's something you personally, I know, have been looking at quite heavily for the past few years. What was your take on the deal that was agreed in June? And how do you think this is going to impact ETFs?
So as you said, the whole industry, and I personally also been working quite a bit through some of the industry bodies, the EFAMA and the IA, but also with your help in some of the articles that we wrote last year, and kind of using your article momentum. So I think the compromise is definitely, it's probably falls slightly short of what the industry was hoping for. I think the industry went in initially 5 layers of transparency and full venue attribution. But I think we basically ended up at, I think, again, we need to see the full text, the formal text that still has not been published yet. But what I hear is basically that it's going to be real-time post-trade, real-time pre-trade, but only the BBO, the best bid offer of the venues, but no venue attribution, which for me, it just feels a bit short of, when it could have been really useful if you had the venue attribution. When a buy-side trader or a sell-side trader basically sees best price, knowing where the venue is, you can go and execute. I think I spoke to one of your colleagues where they're writing in an article, it's like, going to a comparison website to buy insurance or an airline ticket. You see a best price, but you don't know where to get it, which you feel a bit frustrated. But again, I think we'll come. The whole industry is rallied. Hopefully, there'll be a door opened to revisit this, to make it more transparent and venue transparent, also more multi-layers, which I think in the US they've been debating quite a bit, because they already have venue attribution on the BBO. I think they're looking at multiple layers, and I think if we really want to compete in the EU and in the UK as a global capital market jurisdiction, I think having that would have been really powerful and sent a message to the participants of the capital markets.
Yeah, good stuff. And another pretty topical subject at the moment is obviously the move to kind of T+1 settlement. This is something that's going to happen in the US next year. What's your take on that? Is Europe equipped to, or the EU, are they equipped to be able to follow the US in the move to T+1?
We've done it in the past from T+3 to T+2. So, and actually we moved before the US over here, and they moved after us. So I think it is definitely possible. Obviously in the US it's a bit more easier, as you know, it's one jurisdiction, one country, one main settlement CSD. Whereas and again, if you split between EU and the UK, I think UK there's a lot of talk about going to T+1. I think they've been approaching the industry bodies. In the EU, there are some very early discussions, as you know, with the fragmentation and the connectivity of so many CSDs. It's a bit more, involved process. But I think, if we all put it's not the technology problem, right? It's more, getting everybody ready and kind of coordinating. There's a lot more, much more technological, bigger problems have been solved. So it's more about connectivity between CSDs and getting the right, kind of overall implementation. I think we probably will get there. It won't be as quick and, in terms of timelines, but I'm hopeful because I think it has benefits. But it's very important that, the whole thing is approached from all angles to make sure that there is a good implementation, because otherwise the consequence can be, fairly large. So I think we can probably get there as we evolve in our capital market kind of market structure setup.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's your take on the kind of the CSDR sort of question? Obviously, they don't have that in the US. Is that going to be? Does that make it a bigger challenge in terms of settling on time with CSDR to sort of contend with as well?
You mean the regulatory penalties and those? Yeah, exactly. I mean, it definitely has to be considered. To basically look at what are the implications. Will all participants be able to implement in most efficiently? And those kind of hurdles will make it a bit more of a challenge. But again, overall, it's basically about getting everybody on the same page and having a discussion about how to implement it. What are the hurdles? And to go through. So I think if we plan and get everybody's kind of input in and buy-in, we can make it happen. Obviously, going from T3 to T2 is obviously a lot more easy than going from T2 to T1 with the overnight batch processing that you'll have to do to get the whole thing in the right direction. But again, I think if where there's a will, there's a way. You can basically make that happen.
Yeah, good stuff. And then a couple more questions just around kind of the other challenges you see in the market. What are the kind of key points that you think need to be addressed by the European ETF market at the moment?
I think as we go into this and more retail going to be involved, I think it's really important to increase the on-exchange trading and the right support structure for that. I mean, the product is exchange-traded fund, and again, the EFAMA and the IA have been really focused on all the members and all the participants, even market makers, even the buy-side firms also want to make this happen. So I think it's really important that we work all together and put the right, kind of framework in place to get more trading on exchange. Obviously the MiFID II with post-trade transparency, I think that's really been helpful. With the consolidated tape coming in, again, you're going to get more transparency into the total volume. But I think ultimately we also need to have more trading on exchange of the retail clients. When they are trading, they're able to see the benefit of the overall liquidity available and having that traded on exchange. I think for that, again, working with the whole industry, the issuers, the market makers, but also for the regulators to look at how do we encourage that more happening on exchange. I think that's going to be really key. I think the second thing is obviously kind of education is obviously continues to be the main thing as the products get more complex or get more more thematic products come out, explaining, making sure those kind of things are going to be really, really important to have everybody again understanding what they're buying and what they think it does and what it actually does, which is really going to be important. And also on the innovation side, I think there's going to be I think there's a huge drive going through. I think Europe has really been kind of driving there as well, which is great to see. And I think those kind of angles will be really, really important kind of going forward.
Yeah, great stuff. And then just finally, obviously, we're hosting our awards again this year on the 30th of November as one of the judges and also the winner, as I mentioned, of the Outstanding Contribution to ETFs award last year. You're excited for this year? Do you think it's going to be a good one?
Absolutely. I mean, I still remember the award ceremony, but also our, the panel that sat down for judging. When we sat down and how active discussions they were. And I remember one of the cases where the discussion started on one side, and actually through the discussion, it actually came to the other side, which is great to see. It's not like some people think that, oh, it's already been pre-agreed, kind of decisions. Not at all. And it was really good to see people really having that passion and having discussion, and discussion with passion as well. And also during the award ceremony, how full the room was, and to have so many the greats of the industry in the room, really coming out for the whole day, for the whole entire industry, which is really good. I'm so very excited. So we'll be meeting very soon to look at the awards, and look through who's going to be the winners. So I'm very excited, and I hope we get strength to strength, and everybody puts in their votes and goes for the awards.
Yeah, good stuff. Keshava, thank you very much for talking to ETF Stream today.
Now, thank you, Tom.